The gentleman from Ohio, Mr. Stivers, is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you very much. I'd like to follow up on the HAMP program a little bit if we could. And I have read some statistics from the Federal Reserve that some research that said 30% of seriously delinquent loans were eligible for the HAMP program, and of those, only 24% of those went on trial or permanent. So that's about, call it 7.5% of the eligible, ultimately, loans went through the HAMP program, and then of those, about 10% were on a serious delinquency within about 6 months. You know, what's wrong here? Why isn't the program working, and what did you do to fix it? You said earlier you've done some things to fix it. Can you help me understand, walk me through that?
As I said before, I think there's no question that we haven't been satisfied that we've reached as many people as we would have liked, and so that is part of the equation here. I would point out that it's a different thing to say we haven't reached as many people as we would have liked to we should end the program, because there still are tens of thousands of homeowners that get modifications each month under the program. The primary reasons why people have not qualified for HAMP have been, first of all, that we don't allow investor owners. You have to have an unaffordable mortgage payment. In other words, your current payment has to be more than 31% of your income. Those are two key things that have
I guess I'm concerned about the ones that have gone through. You know, a lot of them are continuing to become delinquent afterwards. So is the program really working?
Well, on that point, just to be clear, over 50% of those who didn't qualify in the first place for a trial modification get private modifications or become current on their mortgages. Only 10 or 15% actually end up in foreclosure.
And,
so
and that's where I was going to go next.
I don't think it's accurate to say that to assume that those folks aren't getting help. And then again, over 50% of those who get a trial mod but don't qualify for a permanent mod get some other form of modification or become current. And those who do qualify for a permanent modification, our numbers right now are that 85% of them are successful after a year. And so we'd like to reach more people. We're trying to do that. But those who do get help are quite successful. And we've set a standard that means even if you don't qualify for a HAMP mod, you often can get help. On average, people do get help with other kinds of modifications.
Sure, and I guess that's to my next question, because if 2 million homeowners got help without the HAMP program and 600,000 got help with the HAMP program, how many of those 600,000 would have gotten help without the HAMP program in addition to the 2 million that received the help that didn't qualify for the HAMP program? I guess I'm trying to understand the difference between you know, what would happen with or without the program.
Each time we have a modification, we run a net present value kind of model for them. And so what we've seen is that the servicers are clearly willing, with the incentives that we provide in HAMP, to reach a set of borrowers that they wouldn't reach otherwise. I don't think there's any data we could provide that would show that every single one of those would not have been helped, but it's clear that there are a significant number of those who would not have gotten assistance otherwise. And I think most importantly, that they got a modification that makes it much more likely that they succeed in the long run because of
that's where I'd like to go next real quickly.
Standards that we set.
And I'm running out of time, so I want to try to run through this. So of the 2 million modifications that have happened in the private market without the HAMP program, what's the success rate there versus, you say you have an 85% success rate after a year?
We see a typically 20% or higher increase in the failure rate in those modifications. So the data is changing over time. Success rates are getting better as the private sector is modeling more on HAMP. But typically what we see is lifetime default rates now of 50 to 60% rather than right now we have the default rate I talked about is a 12-month default rate. So we're presuming that that continues to go up somewhat over the lifetime of those loans, but we still
Probably won't
expect
go
it to
down.
be 20, 30% higher over time.
The gentleman's time has expired. The
you.
gentlelady from California, Mrs. Waters.
Thank you.